Just like most things, your camera gear is eventually going to get dirty, both on the outside and the inside. So it's worth knowing a few techniques that we can use to try and keep the equipment as clean as possible. So general care. Always treat camera equipment like the delicate, high-precision equipment it is. Cleanliness can affect its operation and the quality of the pictures taken. Never immerse or use any liquids directly. Never use anything remotely abrasive or solvents, not specifically designed for the purpose. And read your camera's manual regarding equipment care. So if you do make a boo-boo with any of your cleaning regimes and you need to send it away, you may invalidate your warranty if you haven't followed their instructions. You can remove any batteries if you're not going to use the camera for extended periods. That prevents the batteries from draining or discharging or even leaking inside the camera. Dirt prevention regime. So this is kind of how I work. Protect your camera and lenses from adverse environments or treatment. Sand, that's a killer. Water, salt, dust, drops, physical drops, impact, etc. So they are delicate, expensive pieces of equipment. So protect equipment in camera bags, pouches, plastic bags, etc. when not in use. Always attach the lens caps, and it's always best to buy the manufacturer's lens caps because they're made out of materials that don't tend to shed plastic. Some of the cheaper versions can actually shed plastic into the camera and lens bodies. Use lens hoods. I don't usually use lens hoods for their intended purpose, but they are great for protecting the front part of the lens and for attaching plastic bags and things that we can use when it's raining, so we can physically protect your camera from sand and rain and things by attaching a plastic bag to this across the lens onto the camera and then an elastic band around here hold it all in place. I say they do provide good physical protection for the lens as well. Change your lenses quickly with the camera face down, so that's the lens throat face down in a clean, non-windy environment, because as soon as you take the lens off, stuff can get in there, into the camera body, onto the mirror, onto the sensor, onto the focusing screen, everywhere you don't want it. Clean regularly to prevent dirt buildup and migration. So if you've got a very dirty camera and lens, there's more chance of stuff dropping into the camera body if it's coating, if you've got really dirty equipment. So cautions. You may have seen these air blowers all over the place. Never use compressed gases to clean the interior and use it with great care on the exterior. They can shed liquid droplets and these can contaminate your sensor, the mirror, the focusing screen, and they can do physical damage if you're pointing the wrong part of the camera. Never use solvents, abrasive materials, or anything that sheds particles, because they can get everywhere. Keep camera clean equipment pristine. So if you've got lens brushes and things like that, don't say, oh, these are really nice and soft and that, because you'll get contamination onto the brushes, which then means that that will be transferred to the stuff that you're trying to clean. Some cleaning equipment is designed for single use only, so follow the instructions, single use only. So the camera's exterior, this is the sort of thing that I do. So sand, dust, dirt, brush off. You can maybe use a brand new paintbrush, high quality paintbrush. Brush it off with a clean cloth or microfiber cloth. Grease and salt, remove with a soft, damp, slightly damp cotton or microfiber cloth, well wrung out, and you may want to put a little bit of very mild and diluted detergent in the water solution, but take care with that. Viewfinder, you clean that the same as you will with the lens, and I'll go through the lens. Camera's interior, use a blower brush. A blower brush can shift particles that may have migrated into the camera body. Just but keep the camera body facing down as you're doing this, so anything gets dislodged will come out through gravity. Camera sensor. Only attempt manual cleaning if confident. Okay. Now, most of the modern cameras with interchangeable lenses have got a self-cleaning function. This is a kind of vibrating system, and for quite a lot of situations, at least the modern cameras, this is quite an effective function, and it's certainly keeping my latest cameras very clean for the most part. And you can these are usually activated when you turn the camera on, and you can usually manually intervene using the menus on the back of the camera. Blower brush. Again, don't touch the interior of your camera with it, but we can use puffs of air to dislodge particles. Arctic butterfly type. Now this has got it uses a kind of electrostatic effect, so this particular brush rotates using a battery powered motor, builds up a static charge on its little bristles, and then you can wipe the sensor with it, and it's supposed to attract dust particles onto the brush, which you can then whiz the old thing again and it will fling them off. And I find that this is a really useful little tool. Okay, it's specifically designed for a sensor. Don't use any brush on the sensor that isn't designed for it. Once your sensor becomes really gacky and you can't use any of these techniques to get rid of the stuff, you may need to use swabs, cleaning swabs, with a cleaning solution. Now the first time I attempted this, I made a real mess of the camera. I thought I'd ruined it, but I persevered and I eventually got a really good result. But you do need to be fairly confident with what you're doing, so don't attempt this unless you're willing to persevere and yeah, get the results. So the camera lens electrical contacts, all the latest equipment has got contacts on the camera which then connect to the lens to do the autofocus, the stabilization systems and things like that. If they get contaminated, they may not communicate properly, in which case you maybe need to clean the contacts. Your camera manufacturer will probably just say use a soft cloth. You could maybe use isopropyl alcohol and a soft clean cloth. I've used this. Some people say use a pencil eraser. I've seen a guy who specializes in this sort of thing saying do not use a pencil eraser because it's too coarse. It's got it will actually erode away the gold plating on your contacts. So yeah, be very careful what you do with the contacts. Maybe just a very soft cloth. The lens body, compressed gas, use carefully, and that can blow away some of the contaminants, but you don't want to be blowing the stuff underneath the seals in the camera and blowing it into the camera. A brush, so you can maybe use a brush to clean around. And again, I use a nice clean short paintbrush for a lot of stuff that I haven't used for painting, of course. Brand new sort of brush. Wipe with a clean damp cloth. Lens, so this is the glass bit. Know that any scratches induced will forever affect your picture quality, so you need to be really careful when you clean the glass bits. So clean with a camel hair lens brush, okay, one specifically designed for cleaning lens glass. Dedicated lens cleaning tissues, so you can see these sort of tissues, and these are very effective as well. When I use these, I generally huff on the lens, don't blow or spit on them, but just give it a nice huff of a moist area, and then you can just use the cloth to wipe that off. That's usually very effective. I also use very clean handkerchiefs. I don't use the handkerchiefs for anything else, but I keep some quite old and nice and soft handkerchiefs for this sort of procedure, and I found that it's very effective as well. Never use paper handkerchiefs, kitchen roll or similar, as most contain abrasive scratchy materials. Okay, you don't want to scratch your lens or your filters. So sensor cleaning, only attempt if confident with the right equipment, otherwise get done professionally. This is a sort of simulated but telltale evidence on the sensor. You get little black spots, bigger or smaller, okay, meaning the light couldn't get through onto the sensor. So the first stage is to try your sensor cleaning, or you know, the mechanical thing on the back of the camera. It'll vibrate. View the camera sensor using a sensor loop. These are self-illuminating loops. These are really good. So you can, and it's got a magnifying viewer here, so it magnifies about 4 to 6 times, but you can really get a good idea as to what's on the sensor. Try removing with manual air blowers, and some of these are designed for sensor cleaning. Maybe use the Arctic butterfly or something similar to that. Sensor swabs. Check the results. So you'd use a telephoto lens on the camera, so we're taking a photograph now. Focus at infinity. Set the lens to a small aperture. It doesn't matter about camera shake because that's not an issue here. We need to maybe overexpose by about 2 stops so we get a nice white area, and then we can check for contamination on the computer screen, a 1:1 magnification, and see the sort of dirt that might still be remaining on the sensor. Okay, so I normally point the camera at a white cloud, overexposed by about 2 stops to give it a nice white, retain the whiteness, and just press the button a couple of times, and anything that's on at least 2 images means it's a spot on the sensor and it's not a fly floating across the image. If you haven't got it right, start again and go around the loop again. Note that for well-used cameras, eliminating all the contaminants is virtually impossible. Okay, but you can live with certain minor issues. So that's my regime for camera cleaning and sensor cleaning. But again, sensor cleaning only attempt if you were confident, because you could screw up your entire camera.